Oh yeah, we back. We back on y'all ass. We back on y'all ass. Can y'all see this? We back on y'all ass. And guess what? We ain't gonna let up. I ain't gonna let up off y'all. I ain't gonna let up. We gonna continue to try to understand the hidden history of the Caucasian and why throughout history they have been acting like barbarians and savages. Meanwhile, they have been labeling other people as barbarians and savages. But their activity of where they have gotten in society today is rooted in barbarianism, is rooted in savagery. And we want to understand why. Why they do this stuff. What would make them do this? What's the reason? Is it just because of your skin color? We gonna find out. Now let us go inside the Caucasus Mountains. Life inside the caves. Ooh shit. We about to get there, y'all. Life without shelter. We said we about to see how these Caucasians were living when they got cast out of Arabia and was driven across the hot sand. Now mind you, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad the Great, he said that they were cable-towed and driven across this hot-ass sand while the indigenous bronze-skinned so-called black people were on horses. Walking while basically they had the Caucasians walking or running. I heard some people say they was running. Made them run across the hot Arabian desert, and the ones that passed out died. They just left them there for dead. So I mean, this was their penalty for causing all the chaos after they had been made on the island of Pelon or Patmos, and came back into the civilized world. They started all the mischief and had everybody killing each other and was lying and doing all type of crazy shit. For 6 months, they turned it inside out. And this is why they was driven. Now let's see about this life inside the caves, y'all. We can start. Let's get it right. Life without shelter. The Caucasians began to live in the innumerable caves which nature had carved in the limestone hill. In the limestone hills. Plural, hills. Because they was living that thug life in many different caves. Thousands of the small caverns can still be found along the slopes of the Caucasus Mountains, covering an area of several hundred miles. Their openings face the north today. They are called the caverns of the northern Caucasus. Listen, their caves face the north till this day. This is why in the caves it got no sunlight. So certain parts of Europe is called Germany, because the more you go back in the caves that doesn't have any sunlight, is dampness, moisture, bad bacterial, fungus, mold. In other words, there's so many germs. So this is where you get the word Germany from, because the origin of the name, as far as those hillsides and mountains go, was just that bad. Germany. In other words, it was so many damn germs, they just said germ many. Germ many. Because it was that many goddamn germs. It was just that damn bad. It was many germs. Now let's keep it pushing. In his book, Cave Hunting, researchers on the evidence of caves respecting the early inhabitants of Europe, W. Boyd Dawkins, offers his perspective on the subject concerning the isolation and the circumstances which led them to seek protection in the caves. Dawkins writes, compelled by the pressure of some great calamity, the flee for refuge, and to lead a half-savage life in these insolent caves, they were cut off from the civilization to which they had been accustomed. A clear picture of the caves and their inhabitants is presented in the Holy Quran, in the chapter called Al-Kifa. The Quran states, and thou mightest see the sun, when it rose, decline from their cave to the right, and when it set, leave behind them on the left, while they were in a wide spread thereof. While they were in a wide space thereof. And thou mightest think them awake while they were asleep. And we turned them about to the right and to the left, while their dog outstretched its paws at the entrance. If thou didst look at them, thou wouldst be filled with awe because of them. In other words, they were some ugly motherfuckers. And in other words, the dog was the only thing that protected them in the gates, while the cavemen slept in the trees fighting off the wild animals at night. Remember, during this time at nighttime, all they had was moonlight and little specks of stars. Because there was not one street light. There was no cars. There was no electricity in the caves. They was straight uncivilized. All of them was criminals. Every last one of them was psychopaths. Every last one of them developed an instinctual, narcissistic behavior. It became their culture. Kill or be killed by any means necessary. Excuse me, y'all. In addition to the small caverns, which nature had carved in the limestone slopes, the early Europeans, you see, y'all see the word Europe, Latin, EU, bind, rope, okay? See the rope in there? Because they was binded in with rope. You heard? Now, also lived in man-made holes and hollows. This how they were living. The hollows was a simple tunnel, 10 to 15 feet deep and wide enough for a man to crawl through. It was wide enough for him to crawl through, a whole man, y'all. So you know, according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Great, he said on the average height there was 6 foot. Now, at the end of the tunnel was an underground nest or den. Man, it's like some animal shit. Like the natural cave. The hollow offered the Caucasian pinkish pale people a place of refuge and safety where he could hide, eat, and sleep. So this right here was like their den. It's like their living room, y'all. You know, for them, this high luxury. Now, continuing on, in times of bitter cold, the inhabitants of the hollow could cover the entrance with what the hell? With excrement? Wait a minute now. Just wait one goddamn minute here. Let me read that shit one more time. Cause I don't think I'm getting this shit right. I'm gonna read that one more time, cause I don't think I read that shit right. It say in times of bitter cold, the inhabitants of the hollow, the inhabitants, meaning the Caucasian pinkish pale people, could cover the entrance with excrement or manure. God damn. They covered the entrance with shit. With shit. God damn. God damn. This was This was a popular way of keeping warm during the winter months. And you wonder why they hate this book. You wonder why they didn't want nobody getting this damn book. You wonder why it was up to like 10,000 comments of them saying racist shit when they ain't even read the damn book, because they just felt it in their spirit that it was going to reveal their hidden history. Well, goddamn it, here we have it now. Indigenous people, we never knew where the criminal mindset started. But guess what? It started in the caves. Now you can understand why they went around hanging indigenous people in trees, why they went around enslaving people, why they went around pillaging, mass genocide of indigenous people all over the planet. Now you can understand, because the criminal mindset started in the caves. It became a part of their nature. And let's not forget, when they were grafted from the original man, they were stripped of all of the neuromelanin, and they was only left with a calcified pineal gland, meaning that they were not able to tap into the cosmos, no matter even if they did raise up their cosmic current kundalini. They were shut off from God. This is why they could only do such low vibrational things. Now, let us continue. In addition to blocking out the cold air, the steam produced beneath the rotten excrement served to warm and humidify the inside of the hollow. Imagine sleeping every day smelling shit. Imagine sleeping every day smelling shit. See, now y'all can understand, during the Dark Ages, they didn't take no baths. It was the Moors that came and taught them how to take a bath, because they had been used to this shit for like 2,000 years. They had been used to smelling shit. Now, let's continue. See, it was the Moors that taught them how to screw up their nasty ass. Even some of them to this day don't wash their ass. Ancient sources indicate that keeping warm by staying beneath massive piles of stench was common throughout many parts of Europe, and that the custom was still practiced as late as the time of Tacitus. Tacitus, the ancient historian, traveled extensively throughout the interior of Europe and wrote about some of the wild tribes who still inhabited that region in his day. In his book, Germania, remember I talked about Germany, the many germs that was in the caves because they couldn't get no light because they all the caves faced the north. Tacitus said of them, they also have the habit of hollowing out underground caves which they cover with masses of manure. Masses of shit. Shit. Do y'all hear me? I guess this shit was supposed to keep the wild animals away. See, when you gotta live like this, your back against the wall at all costs. You wondering if a wild animal gonna eat your child, gonna eat your loved one, gonna eat you. So when you're uncivilized like this, you become an animal. He got so bad, according to the Honorable Elijah the Great, he said they started crawling on all fours just like wild animals while they was in the caves. As a matter of fact, it is claimed that the men would get on top of the dog and hump the dog. The men got it from the dog after seeing the dog get on top of the woman and would screw the cave woman. This is where doggy style started at, in the cave.
Well, I have another question for you.
Yes.
When was the last time you kissed a pooch?
It's been estimated 8 out of 10 dog owners let their pet lick them, and 6 in 10 let them lick their faces. Well, they may want to rethink that after this next story. This man has lost all of his appendages after contracting an infection, and it's believed the infection can be traced to the lick of a dog.
A shocking turn of events for a 48-year-old dad who has lost his hands and legs after doing something so many of us do every day.
I got licked by a dog.
That's right. All this from being licked by a dog.
There was like 5 dogs at the party. They were all swimming in the pond. And I was touching all of them because I love dogs.
Greg's doctors believe he contracted a bacteria from one of the dogs that licked him.
I ended up not washing my hands and rubbing my eye or my face.
The bacteria that infected Greg is called Capnocytophaga canamorsis. It's found in 75% of dogs, but it's extremely rare for it to infect a human. One day after the party, Greg started exhibiting signs of sepsis.
He would speak sentences and then it would turn into like gibberish almost.
So is it okay to have your dog lick you? Dr. Werber says he's licked dozens of times a day.
In my opinion, you can still have your dog lick you, and yes, you will be fine.
You see, some of them just can't let that caveman shit go. Trust me, they love them dogs more than they love your black ass. Because the dog would get behind the cave woman and he would go to work on her. And according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Great, Elijah the Great, he says that they gave birth to a monkey. And this was the beginning of the monkey. This is why they say that man has like 98% DNA of a monkey. No, the Caucasian does. This is why they have the rhesus monkey gene in them, not indigenous people. According to their own genetic scientists, they saying that the only real humans are African people. That's what they claim. Not me. They claim this shit.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
Now I'm finna pull up. Jeanette, wait a minute. Watch this.
Go ahead.
Caucasians share 98% of their DNA with chimpanzees. Here we go.
Okay, now do it for Africans.
Wait a minute. We don't have Neanderthal DNA. If you want to go there, I'll bust you right down. We can talk about how your people introduced the A and B antigens to our bloodstream. We can talk about how you share 98% of your DNA with a chimpanzee, 87% of your DNA with a canine, 14% with a fruit fly, 83% with listen. I will bust you down. I will bust you down genetically.
Google ghost hominid DNA. Seriously, Google right now.
What are we even arguing about?
We're a fruit fly?
What the
We're a
fuck?
fruit fly?
Oh,
Is that what we are?
So,
I mean, all creatures share like half of their DNA anyway.
No, that's a white people lie that y'all keep telling the world. All creatures do not share. Let me ask you a question right now. Listen. We've grown. We're not arguing. We've grown, right? What's the first thing that you learned in science class? That a species cannot sexually reproduce with the organism outside its own species. This is a fact, right? Can we agree on that? We can agree on that. Okay. So since we can agree on that, now you have to explain to me, how did you develop the amino acids in the DNA and the proteins in your DNA of a species that you cannot sexually reproduce with? How? How did you become a Neanderthal hybrid? If you cannot sexually, right now, we gonna have sex with a monkey, you're not gonna get that monkey pregnant. So we want to know, how did you, Ryan, as a Caucasian, inherit chimpanzee DNA when you cannot sexually reproduce?
Well, they were close enough. Neanderthals and primitive humans were close enough. Same way a white man and a black person can have a baby. It's like they're close.
That's not true.
They're close.
Let me stop you again. White and black people cannot naturally reproduce. Go ask any doctor. You can smile all you want. Let me send you to the hospital. Let me educate you. Go to the hospital right now with any interracial couple, and they're going to tell you that they have to get a ROGAM shot. And what the ROGAM shot does is it tells the mother's immune system not to terminate the fetus because the immune system identifies the fetus as a foreign species because these are two separate species of people trying to sexually reproduce. This is a fact. It's called hemolytic disease in red blood.
There are problems with outbreaks. I agree.
Okay, thank you very much.
But anyway, let's keep it pushing. So we know where doggy style started. We know they was covering themselves and the interests with shit. We know they was used to smelling shit. We know they was used to smelling like shit. Remember, the Quran said if you would have saw one of them, you would have ran away in awe because they was hideous. Fingernails out extremely long and shit. They smelled like shit. They looked like shit. Hair was out long. They was hairy. They was crawling on all fours. They even started growing tails. Some of us know that they grow on to this day. Anyway, let's keep it pushing. But they cut them off at birth. The book, what this is? Was that book 5, book 4 or something? Anyway, I ain't good with them Roman numerals. Xenophon and Bassus mentions the underground tunnels having been used in the Caucasus Mountains. Xenophon and Anabias goes on to say that the Caucasian pinkish pale people inhabitants once shared those tunnels with goats, sheep, cattle, fowls, and their young, and that those in those tunnels, all the animals were reared and took their fodder. Listen here. Do y'all see the scholarship? It is absolutely impeccable. The suggestion is that in order to protect the animals from theft, it was necessary to keep them underground. Woo! Y'all hear this shit? This is scholarship here, y'all. And look, in prehistoric antiquities of the Aryan people, now we know that the original Aryans are black. The original everything black. Okay? Dr. O. Schrader also discusses the ancient use of subterranean dwellings, i.e., dwellings dug in the earth, the existence of which is recorded amongst numerous Indo-Germanic peoples, and which afforded protection alike against the summer's heat and the winter's cold. So it is a fact that after they arrived in the hills of West Asia, the Caucasian pinkish pale people were compelled to seek refuge in the caves. Concerning the way of life that had developed as a result of their isolation, Elijah Muhammad the Great writes, they were punished by being deprived of divine guidance for 2,000 years, which brought them almost into the family of wild beasts, going up on all fours, eating raw and unseasoned food, living in caves and treetops, climbing and jumping from tree to another, from one tree to another. You see that? Eating raw and unseasoned food. Even in Europe, when the Moors came out to teach them how to season their food. See, they still had that lingering of the cave-dwelling instinctual habits within them. Look, is this an exaggeration? Or is it an accurate characterization of an historical event? Man, you know what? I'm going to stop right there. I ain't going to even read no more right now. Because I don't want y'all to go in shock. I know Caucasians, most of them didn't already shit, then went into convulsion, all type of shit. They shaking. They done went into a whole panic attack. Some of y'all actually appreciate this shit, though, I'm reading. Some of y'all do. But some of y'all pissed the fuck off. And guess what? Bitch, I don't care. Because us indigenous people need to know this. Because we've been lied to for centuries. We have been reared up by an enemy. We have been reared up by a natural enemy. We have been reared up by instinctual narcissist psychopaths. And a whole heap of racist nothing ass motherfuckers. So it is a great honor that I bring to y'all. Make Another White Man by a Caucasian man named Paul Guthrie. Inspired by Elijah Muhammad the Great.
You may have it in their mind that they cannot even go for themselves. But I want to know how educated were your fathers when they crossed the Atlantic to start fighting off the enemy. Why would you go and get black people to come here? Why would you mix your blood with the black people and yet deprive them of equal justice? That's the thing. If you so mighty and so wise, Why did not you build and construct your own government and country and leave us alone? Thing but labor. Why should not we want some of this earth where we can start building a government for the future of our people, so that they won't be a subject people for just labor year after year for another people. And in all of that, laboring and submission to the will of that nation, they still are subject to the most brutal treatment that human beings can ever be subject to.
Cannot have freedom as long as the white man is ruling. What kind of freedom can we have if the white man is the president of this country and the Senate is the white and the governors of all states is white and the court is ruled by white? What can we say of us in the way of freedom in a country like America? It is truth that makes us to know the white man as he is. It is not other than the truth. It's just the real truth. We never did know the real truth. So now we know the white man as he is. And if the white man said that I am teaching hatred, it is just to say I didn't want you to tell them who I was.